Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Lauren?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm okay. Been kind of weird things. Spinning plates.
Yeah.
You know, hard to keep them all from, or any of them, from crashing to the ground.
To the ground.
It happens.
Like when one crashes, then it seems like the rest of them crash really fast. We're going dark really early this time, aren't we?
Tyranny of the urgent, I think they call it.
Uh-huh.
Is that what they call it?
Well, does that just mean? I mean, sometimes things are urgent.
No. What it means is, but if you put out the biggest fire, and then there still are other fires that are being built.
Uh-huh.
So tyranny of the urgent. You're under a slave. You're a slave.
Gotcha.
To doing the most urgent. You don't have the ability to. We've worked for people that have said before, we can't do the right thing for long term. We have to survive today. It's like,
wait, what? I don't understand.
No, I mean like for business standpoint, we can't do the thing that will build this business. We have to do the thing that will keep us in business. We just have to try to
survive today.
Right now. And that is sort of the tyranny of the urgent.
Gotcha.
I should go back to our intro. Instagram. We're on it. We go, happy times, everybody. Instagram, the happiest place on earth.
But not right before bed, and certainly not once you've gotten into bed.
That's right. Instagram, you can find us. Just search Wilder Show Pod, and you'll find us there on Instagram. And our email address is podcast@wildershow.com, podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central, or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And thank you for doing all that. The stock market took a big couple of tumbles.
Took a tumble?
But it's look, you could, if you chase this, we talked about this before, if you chase this every day, you'll go crazy. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. The tariffs, are tariffs a good idea? Are they a bad idea? All I know is within days, 50 countries have come back to say, hey, maybe we can talk a little bit more about this. The European Union has said to the president, hey, you know what? We really want a tariff-free existence on both sides. So completely free trade, which would be good.
That's a good thing, right?
We have, very good thing. So these conversations that are being had about tariffs and the amount of tariffs and is it a fair system? That's one conversation. The other conversation about China and the ridiculousness of China, that is a whole separate thing. How they have, we have, I would say kowtowed. That's you bow like that. I think it's called kowtow. Anyway, I'm not trying to make it specific to the region of the world, but you give in to the opponent because they're so big and they're a big trading partner. And what are we going to do? They're so big and they want a little bit more. And well, what are we going to do? They're so big. And then over time, you end up, diminishing sort of who you are. And it's a big reset button that has been hit. Look, it's true that if these tariffs stay, first of all, if they exist at all, and then if they stay in place, even for 90 days, it will be very bad. But I don't want to talk about it every day for 90 days. The stock market, I was looking at a chart of 2023 and 2022 and the massive dips in the stock market. Nobody was freaking out then.
Yeah.
Because it was a different administration. But you have this that is basically, you could say, it is a correction in the market. A lot of the people that are stock market geniuses have said, hey, the stock market's in for a correction. That doesn't mean that it's because necessarily of the policies of any particular president. It could mean that the market reacts because it's been kind of waiting. It's like you've been waiting to do one thing and then something sort of nudges you and you do it.
Yeah.
Did that make you do it, or was it just the opportunity to do it? And I think sometimes it could be that same kind of thing. So I'm not going to bathe in all the tariff talk. I'll just say a week from now, I expect things to be better than they are today.
Okay.
There is a reaction the market has. It will be tense for a time, and then it will adjust. It just will. If you look at it over time, don't. I hate to sound like I'm all Pollyanna. You know me. I'm not I'm not even a realist. I'm a catastrophist.
You're not even Polly.
No, that's right. I mean, I'm a horrible example of any kind of optimism.
Measured, even
not
measured response.
No, not at all. It's I am Eeyore. Eeyore is me. Woe is us. We'll never make it, sort of thing. I'm not Tigger. I'm Eeyore. But I would still say, don't fret. It's not worth fretting about all this stuff, because you can get lost in it, especially if you live in a world where you have a Republican president and all of the news that you're faced with is news about how this particular president is driving us into the ditch and all this kind. It's like, okay, I mean, is it true? Is it? I don't know. I mean, I'm telling you, over time, 6 months, 9 months. What did I say at the beginning? I said, let's wait 6 months and see how it is. Then we'll wait 9 months and see how it is. Wait a full year and see how it is. That's it. And let's let that be the markers. So when is 6 months? January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Okay, so July 20th. Okay. Moon Day.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the landing of the moon.
Day.
Moon landing day. Also, my late father-in-law's birthday, Mr. Martin. CG. Yeah, so the July 20th that's the time to really look at it all. And I wouldn't spend a lot of time fretting before that.
I feel like I just don't, I don't want it to seem like I ever have my head in the sand about it, but I don't have the bandwidth to fret over it every day.
I don't either.
And it doesn't really matter who put the policies in place.
Yeah.
If it's the side I voted for, the side I didn't vote for, I don't, and I don't know if that's
your fret vat is full, no matter from where it comes.
And I think some of it is I have a faith in something bigger than that, which helps me not. Yeah. I know it's important. I know, and I work for the things that I know are really important, but I don't have the mental and the emotional bandwidth to bathe in it every day.
The other thing is it does sort of presume that we have the power to sort of move things and change things.
It does.
Like if I just care about this more, or if I just work harder at this, then it will achieve this certain result.
Yeah.
It's sort of like standing outside and sort of screaming at the wind that if I try harder, work harder, this massive force of nature is going to change,
right?
Bend to my will. It doesn't.
Sometimes it just doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. It sort of speaks to a narcissism, a hubris, if you will, a belief that if we just, it's very liberal. That's actually a very liberal philosophy.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, just to create a utopia. If there isn't a God, then it is up to us to create the great society or the perfection on this earth or whatever. And we have the power. If we work harder, if we are positive enough, if we are all these things,
right, then
this stuff will, occur. It doesn't really take into account that we didn't create anything.
Yeah.
We're not the creator. So Trump and terrors. Yeah, he's a tariffist. Right? He's a tariffist.
He's a tariffist.
He's a mad tariffist. Trump and all that. I just wouldn't fret. And it's not because I don't care. I care. I just don't care to give myself to things that are going to resolve. They just are going to resolve. I promise you. They will resolve. And I don't mean in a bad way. Somebody's saying, well, resolve. Yeah, that's what they said in 1934. No, I don't mean that. They will resolve. It's going to be okay. It really will be okay.
Okay.
The U.S. has begun direct talks with Iran over the nuclear program.
That's pretty big.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And doesn't it fall right into the whole thing that I've said that Trump wants to be, win the Nobel Peace Prize? If you could, talk people, have some arms agreement between Israel and Iran, or between so-and-so and Iran, if you could bring peace to the Middle East, at least temporarily, until you get your, medal or trophy or whatever it is that you get your $1 million check.
It is a medal, isn't it? Is it a medal?
I think it is, yeah. The whole thing about that. I mean, Nobel, the whole story of Nobel.
No,
was
I don't
it
know
Albert
that.
Nobel?
I don't know.
Alfred Nobel, and it's Nobel, not no.
It's Nobel.
Yeah, it's Nobel, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alfred Nobel. That is who the Nobel Peace Prize is named for. And he was a chemical engineer, physics, chemistry, that kind of stuff.
Smart.
Yeah, really smart. Also invented something pretty important. His inventions included dynamite.
Oh, wow.
And that dynamite, of course, it changed everything in war. I mean, dynamite attacks. We're talking about like in the 1880s. I mean, way back when. Mm-hmm. So Nobel invented this explosive, and it was used in war, and it blew people apart and killed people everywhere. Well, there's a story that in 1888, after the death of his brother, Ludwig, several newspapers published the obituary, but of Alfred by mistake.
Oh, wow.
So the question is, how would they view him in death?
Uh-huh.
So he was alive to see how people would view him.
He read his own obituary,
he
basically.
Did. Isn't that crazy?
Uh-huh.
And so one French newspaper condemned him for his invention of military explosives, and this is said to have brought about his decision to leave a better legacy after his death.
Wow.
The obituary stated, Le marchand de la mort est mort. The merchant of death is dead.
I got dead is dead.
Yeah, and then went on to say...
That's the only part I understood.
Then went on to say, Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday.
I guess that's not what you'd want.
No. And
the
so,
first line of your, or any line,
right.
But certainly not the first line of your obituary to read.
And so he had committed that he was going to give the rest of his life to peace and to peaceful things. And so the Nobel Peace Prize is named for a guy that invented one of the most destructive, non-peaceful parts of battle ever.
Wow.
So according to Nobel's will, and before he really died, the Peace Prize shall be awarded, I'm reading, to the person who is in the preceding year to have done the most or best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies, and for the holding and promotion of peace. I think President Trump would like to receive that. I mean, who wouldn't want to receive it?
Bob Dylan, I guess.
Yeah.
Didn't he turn it down?
Did he really?
Or he didn't? No, he didn't turn it down. I think he just didn't go to the ceremony.
He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, but he didn't go.
And he didn't go. Yeah. Let me do a little research here. Let me see if I can remember. I'm sure he can't be the first the first one. Bob Dylan, I guess. Yeah, in 2016, he won the Nobel Prize in Literature.
Oh, literature. Yeah, but not the Peace Prize.
No.
Yeah, I got you. Nobel Prize for literature.
For literature.
Got it. Yeah, because they have like the lore, they have the poetry, they have they have the science. Right? They have different.
It's all
ones.
the same. It all stems from that, though.
It does.
Doesn't
it does.
it?
No,
okay.
it does. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they have the different prizes that they have.
You could be guilty of damaging the economy with one of your habits.
I could think of more than one.
Probably so.
Probably.
I think you might be surprised by this.
All right, go ahead.
Fewer people are eating lunch out. Fewer working people are eating lunch out.
I believe that.
Now than they were even in the months after, in 2020, even after everything started to open up, and some people started going back into their offices. I
don't doubt that. I've never been really huge on eating out at lunch.
No,
just because as a worker, if you're a worker, if you're working like in a building and whatnot. Now, unless you have like a snack shop or something right on site, but you waste so much time,
that's true.
Going out and then driving somewhere, and I got to be back. I mean, I'd rather just at the end of the day go somewhere and eat. Then take a sack lunch or something and eat at work, and then if you want to go out at the end of the day. But the whole thing of, imagine We worked at the radio station there on 183. One of the guys, he'd go, I'm going to make a bowl run. And he would, I don't remember this or not.
A bowl run?
Yeah, he'd make a bowl run. And he would go to like Jack in the Box for their teriyaki bowls or something.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, yeah. And so you say, hey, I want a, teriyaki bowl with one, what's it called? The egg roll. One egg roll for me. Scott's get one egg roll. And it's like one guy goes out.
From Jack in the Box?
Yeah, they have
There weren't a lot of choices there.
There weren't.
There weren't a lot of lunch choices.
You remember the Jack in the Box was over there. Anyway, so, but it's like all the time is gone. You can't go anywhere. But it's lunchtime and it's crowded. And it's like, you can't turn, for most workers, I mean, real worker types, we don't have 2 hours to have lunch.
Some of my fondest memories of my first job at the radio station on Mockingbird were making plans to go for lunch. And we didn't have, every once in a while we could squeeze out maybe an extra 15 minutes depending on what the day looked like.
You're saying you were door to door an hour?
There were so many places to choose from.
Well, that's
door to door in an hour.
That's true.
And because
that was a good place.
So many people were doing that then, they would make a point. Any restaurant you went to, they catered to the people that they knew had to be in and out quickly. There were. Do you remember the Black Eyed Pea?
Oh, yeah.
Black
Eyed Pea was there, and Jason's right there.
There was a Great Outdoors around there, too. So many places. Campese's. Those are some of my fondest memories,
for sure.
And people just aren't
so what is it?
doing
What is it that
now.
I'm doing? Is that what I'm doing by not going out to eat lunch?
Yeah, it's causing a big crisis for restaurants.
Well, that's give me some incentive.
They don't have the foot traffic coming back, and it's not so much now that even though people are back in the office, everything costs more. And they really can't. They can't afford it like they used to be able to. There are people they talk about. They used to spend $500 a month on lunches out. That it was not just. It wasn't. It was like I was talking about. At my first job, it wasn't just that you had to feed yourself. It was kind of an event. It was a break during the day.
Break from the day.
But now things cost more. Property tax. This particular person talked about property taxes. When her property tax bill went up, she had to cut it somewhere. And now she's, eating leftovers and, like frozen lunches and things like that. But the thing is, groceries, like we're not spent. Well, they are, but it's so you would think that there would be a trade-off that if restaurants are not seeing the foot traffic to restaurants that they used to before the pandemic, you would think that money has to be spent somewhere, but they think that like groceries, we're only spending like 1% more on groceries, like averaged out for, knowing that everything costs more. They're just looking to see where is that money going. If the money is not going to restaurants, it has to be going somewhere. And they don't know where, but it's not to the restaurants. And it's really hard for the people who have that's their bread and butter, the restaurant business, so to speak.
It's never bothered me. Maybe it's my upbringing. We I told you before, we took our lunch to school all the time. All the time.
Oh yeah.
We had the same thing with basically the same kind of lunch all the time, and it was good. And on Fridays, I would save my. I really do believe milk was like a carton of milk was like. I don't know, 10 cents or something.
I was going to say a nickel.
Yeah, it was like a nickel or 10 cents, and you had an ice cream bar, I think it was a dime or something at the end of it. And then, of course, I saved the extra change, and I really did like the fish. Thank you to all the Catholic community in those days. Every Friday was Fish Friday, and I loved it. I loved having those. It was sort of a different thing.
I remember that.
And so even growing up, I didn't. It'd be easy to think, well, gosh, why do you bring your lunch all the time? Our kids and kids today, even in private schools, they have all kinds of different things. Like, so-and-so Chick-fil-A comes in once a week and does this, or somebody else brings this. And it's kind of crazy. We were really eating sandwiches made by our moms or our dads or made by us. And Doritos that were taken from a big bag and put in a Ziploc bag, and we that was our lunch, and then we bought a thing of milk.
Right.
Not everybody, but many people did it. The only thing I really loved buying was on Fridays. I loved buying the fish, the McFish or whatever it's called on what's it called, the McFish.
Just the all I can think of is
filet fish. The filet fish sandwich.
Fish, yeah.
The filet fish sandwich at McDonald's.
I used to love those.
Well, it's exactly the same little pallet of fish as what we had on Fridays at elementary school. It's the very same thing.
Yeah.
And so I still enjoy one of those every now and then. And then the other thing I really liked was Sloppy Joe's. If they had Sloppy Joe's at the school, I enjoyed those too. But for the most part, we always took our lunches, and didn't feel like, I don't know, it didn't feel like a class, a different class of student. We were at this level and somebody else at this level. It's just kind of like, hey, I dug it because we could sit and eat our food and enjoy our company the whole time of the lunch instead of wasting 12 minutes of it in the line.
Yeah, my kids never
having to scarf it down.
Never took their lunch. We packed lunches for years and years and years.
I like it.
But you know what this piece doesn't mention about going back to the office? I hear so often, and you and I have talked about this a little bit too, one of my kids has access to this. And then we've talked to my brother-in-law, who works for a really big company, that in the quest to get people back to the office, they offer free lunch for everybody there.
Yeah.
And several different choices, like 4 or 5 different places that every day you're in the office, you can get lunch for free. And I mean, I would think that might be making a little bit of an impact on foot traffic to restaurants in the middle of the day.
Sure, I would think so. It sounds really boring, but I always I liked sitting at my own desk and eating my own food, and just
you brought from home, in a little brown paper bag,
in a brown paper bag. I mean, I've told that story about the radio station.
I knew you were going to
100 times.
Yeah.
And we were working at a radio station. Sort of like Voldemort, whose call letters shall not be mentioned. And I was working at that radio station, and there were 2 sides to the radio station. There was the fun side, and then there was the side that made all the money. And so you had to pick. Do you want to make money, or do you want to have fun in your life? And some of us who picked one early in life thought, should have picked the other one.
Those of us who picked the fun side packed our lunches a whole lot more.
Well, that's the truth. It was a great wall between, I should say to them, between me and thee. It's a big wall, and it is not to be traversed. They did different things that we did, and we were working with the same goal. But I took the refrigerator was on their side of the kingdom, and I had taken my lunch and I put it in a brown paper bag, and I put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
And it came to be lunchtime, and so I walked around through the dark side, and went and looked in the fridge to get my lunch, and it wasn't there.
And you had not put your name on it, though, right?
No, I just put it in there.
But it's not like it was stuffed full of lunch.
No, it was just
a couple of people.
Yeah, threw it in there.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of weird. And so I start walking around, and in the sales cubicle, I see a guy who is sitting there, and he is eating my lunch. I mean, literally eating my lunch. The lunch that I brought is in his mouth, and he's eating it.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. I said, "Hey, yeah, that's my lunch." He goes, his mouth full. Is it? is this your lunch? I said, "Yeah." He said, "Oh, well, it was in the refrigerator, and I didn't know whose it was." And I said, "But you did know whose it wasn't. It wasn't yours. You didn't bring it, therefore it is not yours." Yeah. So you didn't have to know whose it was. All you had to know is whose it wasn't.
Seems easy enough.
If I walk out in the parking lot, I don't know whose cars those are, but I didn't drive here in it, and so it's not mine.
Yeah.
I don't need to know whose it is. I just need to know whose it isn't. It isn't mine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed.
You still feel that really deeply, I can tell.
I still express that. I still express that actually exactly the same way I did those many, many years ago. That's true, though. Oh, it's time for Scattershoot.
Okay, let's go.
Wilder Show Scattershoot. This is the purple section, the today section. It's not It's not really so much, it can be, but it's not really the news section. It's not the money section. It's not the sports section. It's sort of all the other things.
It's the fun section.
It's the fun section. But, really sometimes the sports is the fun. Or there's a money thing that is fun.
Well, that's
Or
true.
there is a news thing that is so, it's sort of a catch-all time that we have here. And so this is where you'll find some of those things. And we call it, with a hat tip to Blackie Sherrod, the late and great, we call it our scattershoot.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Do you regret your tattoos?
Which ones? I've said about tattoos, I have zero ink. And now I'm not saying I would never have it.
Uh-huh.
This is not a moral position against ink.
Yeah.
Or highfalutin sort of thing, or prim and proper, nothing like that. I just don't have any. Again, I don't think it means necessarily I never will, but I've always said I don't think you're going to find someone late in their life who will say, you know what, I really should have gotten more tattoos.
Well, maybe somebody might say,
so.
I wish I'd gotten one. Though.
Yeah,
maybe.
well, I mean, one is more than zero, so maybe that would be the case. But I did tell my kids that when I turn 100, that I will put all of their names and my grandbabies' names. I will tattoo them on my face.
Oh no, you did not say
I did
that.
tell them that. But do you know? Can you see the end of this? I will never have to pay that. That will never pay off. I will not be 100. It's moot. I can say that I will do it when I am 100. I'm not going to be 100 ever.
Why are you so sure about that?
Are you kidding?
I'm not kidding.
I don't know. 100.
I mean, I just had
100,
an uncle die at 92.
No, I know, but that's other people. There's no way. There's no. I don't see it happening. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be nice. I guess to live if you were ambulatory.
If you took care of yourself.
Well. Okay, now that you should see the look across this studio and hear that giggle.
I'm far enough away that he can't swat, and he could maybe throw something at me. And hit me. But
let me turn to the audience for a second. The audience. I'm looking away from you now.
Okay.
She sounds nice, but listen, that is.
No,
that's not the whole story.
It's just sometimes I think maybe I can shame you into healthier habits, but I don't know.
In any case, okay, maybe I'll put everybody's face, everybody's name on my face in a tattoo. I've just never gotten a tattoo. I mean, I've walked into some tattoo places,
yeah,
and I've said, hey, tell me about that, or tell me about that, or whatever. But never like I was so close to doing it, but then I got squeamish, or it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I just was curious because I'd never been in one. And I was in a sort of kind of seedy part of a particular town, and I wanted to walk in there and check it out. So I did.
Well, this is not why I brought this up at all, but I do have kind of a funny story. I think it's a funny story because you talked about getting a tattoo later in life. We have some friends, really good friends that are, I mean, maybe he's like 8 or 9 years older than I am. A very young thinking, young acting guy. And he was telling us how he had one of the shows that he watched that he really enjoyed was Ink Masters.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Didn't have
I've
any tattoos.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Was not really a tattoo guy, but really enjoyed this show.
Yeah, it's a good show.
And watched the show for a little while and thought, that might be something. It might be fun to do, to think of something meaningful to me and get like one small tattoo. And then he started noticing that on the show, every time somebody came into the studio that was a little bit older than the normal crowd, all the artists would look at each other kind of like, I don't want to do that guy. I don't want to do that guy. Because it's harder to do when your skin loses a lot of its elasticity. So my friend decided, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy who walks in and they all look at each other.
He shouldn't care.
And hope that
so do you not get one?
No, as far as I know, he doesn't have one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think that
interesting.
pretty much killed that little mini dream there.
Yeah, but well, you could get it on. Of course, if you put it on the parts of your body that are
more
taut. Well, the problem there is it hurts more.
Yeah, it does.
It hurts on your ribs more. It hurts.
I
hurts.
can hardly
Obviously your
even think about
face,
that.
your forehead, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It hurts on the back of your hands.
Yeah, he's
it hurts
not a
on your
forehead tattoo
on your
guy, for
ankle
sure.
or on your toes. Anything bony. It hurts more.
Okay.
Like ribs area.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
You act kind of like you've thought about this. You've studied it a little bit.
I'm looking into it still.
Well, here's what. Okay, remind me, who is Gen Z? How old is Gen Z?
12.
No,
I don't know.
They're not.
No, I don't know.
They're
the Gen Z. That's
they're
the
younger
people.
They're younger than
Gen Xers.
Gen X,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Well, some of them are already experiencing tattoo regret.
Well, sure.
This was a survey that
Makes
was
sense.
just done last year. I don't know. They're awfully young to be experiencing
but they
regret, aren't they?
but they did something. They just kind of followed the crowd, and they go, oh gosh,
Oh, I have a story
maybe I
about
shouldn't.
that
Maybe I shouldn't
too.
have had that put on my neck
About
where it
following
can be
the crowd.
seen.
Nearly a third of people with tattoos regret one aspect of their tattoo. Like at least there's something about it that they don't like. But more than 2/3, 68%, regret the design itself. And I have seen that sometimes. I've kind of wondered. I've seen people's tattoos,
design.
and I wondered. I mean, I think that if I.
You all right?
Sorry, that was my shoe.
okay.
My shoe just dropped off my foot and hit the floor.
I've been waiting for that shoe to drop.
I would.
There it finally is.
I would want it to be something significant, right? Like
tattoo?
something meaningful.
Maybe. Sometimes people don't do that though. They do something. They're out on a vacation. They get their some butterfly put on their back or something, or
okay.
their wing, their chicken wing.
Well, here's another thing. Speaking of where the tattoos are, they regret the ones that people can see much more than the ones people can't see. If they can cover it up with their clothes, they're not as worried about it.
Yeah,
but
that
they
makes
are
sense.
more embarrassed, more regretful about the ones that people can't
Tough
see.
for people like Post Malone and people like that. People that did their face. Didn't Post
Yeah.
Malone do his face?
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. That's commitment. I give them that. That's commitment. I mean, I know you know this because I've said this. I don't know, it was a long time ago. I actually have ranked my least favorite colors in tattoos. Aqua and yellow
Don't like
are
those.
both ones that I would shy away from.
Yeah.
At least with my skin.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like with other people's skin, but
I think
those
single
are.
color. I'd go for single.
Yeah,
and
I think-
probably
and
not.
I- and I go-
Probably not
Go ahead.
aqua or yellow.
No,
either.
I mean, single color is good, I think, and really sort of jet black, I think, is really good. But there's a whole hepatitis fear and all that. You got to be really careful, and even if you're really careful, it's still putting ink in your body. I mean, you still have some absorption.
There are all kinds of risks with that.
Yeah, it's like
too,
it's
I
like
think.
maybe don't, maybe don't. I mean, but again, I don't have a judgment. If somebody does it, it's good. I mean, I've seen people with ink, and I've thought, hey, that's really attractive, or that's really kind of cool. But there's also a part. There's also a risk. There's a risk taker. At least there used to be. Maybe not anymore. Maybe not, now that everybody's wearing gloves and every single ink packet is cracked out for hermetically sealed or whatever. But there was a day when that was sort of evidence of a risk taker.
Right.
And if, for example, you were a girl who was a risk taker, that might not be a good idea. It might not be a good idea to be seen by others, maybe particularly men, as a risk taker.
Right.
If you're a girl and there was a day, if you're a girl who was smoking cigarettes or sitting at a bar alone, drinking, right? Or you go to the billiard hall, if they still have billiard halls. You go to the billiard thing. And you
I had a billiard hall like within a mile of my
if you were a woman that goes there alone, that would be seen as, I think, and I am, of course, very old school. And so I still see many of those things as very risky behavior. And I don't think it does not project the kind of, there is a vulnerability, I think, for women if they are viewed that way.
Okay.
And women are already vulnerable anyway.
Yeah.
It's lions and gazelles out there, folks. It's lions and gazelles. I hate to tell you, but it really is. And so, anyway, I would say think hard about getting it. And if you get a tattoo, I don't want you to get something you regret, but I would probably say put it where not everybody can see it.
Yeah. Many years ago, I took my daughter to get an ear pierced. And she was not quite 18, so she needed to have me with her. And it was in a place where they also did tattoos.
Yeah, right.
And it was the evening, but I think it was a weekday. It was maybe sometime after 8 o'clock in the evening on a weekday in a suburb.
Okay.
Suburban tattoo piercing place with a Mexican restaurant right next door.
Okay.
And there was a whole family in there getting matching tattoos, big tattoos. And the person who was piercing my daughter's ear was talking about how much business they get from the restaurant.
Oh, sure.
Next
you know
door
why?
After they've enjoyed themselves just a
absolutely.
little bit more than they planned
That's
at
right.
dinner.
Yeah.
And they just walk right on into the tattoo the tattoo
They're
parlor. I do wonder. I wonder how many of those tattoos that people regret. Like what the circumstances where if there's like a ratio of what's the blood alcohol level when you make that decision.
Right. Okay, so Lauren, in 36 years, 36 some odd years, you're saying that I made a bad deal with my kids because when not if, but when I turn 100 on December 1st, 2061. No way. There is no way. That is crazy. Come on, 2061?
Really? Yeah.
I
don't know. It could happen.
No way.
Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty strange.
I mean, stranger than you living to be 100 would be you getting all of your kids and grandkids' names tattooed on your face.
Yeah, maybe not the face. If they won't do the face, they may not do the face, but I'll do something. Maybe.
Maybe.
How many pets is too many? There is a number. I have even taken this beyond pets, and we had a conversation on the radio station many years ago. How many kids is too many kids to have?
Yeah.
And I know that gets really, really personal. Nobody should be opining. I mean, I think this now in ways perhaps I didn't then, but you shouldn't be really opining. Now, I still hold to the principles that I shared at that time. That if you are having more children than you can parent, and if your own children have to become miniature parents for that job to get done for those children that are your children, I think we've seen plenty of examples where we don't want the 14-year-old girl. It's like, okay, you're next up.
That's different for everybody, though.
Once mama has number 13, you're the new mom.
One set of parents might be checked out when there are 4 kids and the 14-year-old is taking care of the 3 younger kids. Another set of parents might check out when there are 2 kids and that 14-year-old is taking care of the younger kid.
I want to be clear. There are some people.
That doesn't only happen when they have 12 kids or 14 kids.
I understand. There's some people that shouldn't have kids at all, I think. We had a guy we used to work with a long time ago, and I'm not going to say his name, but he was married and young, and I was getting married and I was young, and he was talking about his situation, and we were chatting, and the topic of kids came up, and he immediately said, "No, I'm not having any kids. I don't want any kids." He said, "Look, I would not be a good parent." He said, and so-and-so, whatever his wife's name was, would not be a good mother. We both had very adult-like childhoods, and we're going to have very childlike adulthoods. But that was their, I know, it was their choice. I'm not saying...
Yeah, we let him decide that for himself.
But when I say some people shouldn't be, I'm not saying I would get to decide, although that I would get to decide who should and shouldn't. I'm saying, but by the very fact that is an example, yeah. If you don't want to be a parent, and I'm not suggesting I'm pro-life, so we're not talking about that.
No, I know.
But if you don't want to be a parent, go, guys, get your vasectomy or whatever it is, and just, live your life, and that's good. But don't, that's your business.
Can I ask a question? Just when do we get back to pets?
All right, back to animals. Because we're about to be subjected about animals, so it's the very same thing, except it's going to be about animals.
Yeah.
How many pets is too many? Can you ever have enough pets or too many pets? I say yes. I think you can have too many. I don't care how big your land is. I don't care how big your house is. I think you can have too many. And most cities have a number.
They do.
You just don't know it. And it's not like they don't tally up your fish and the frog and the turtle.
Right.
It's basically, it's assuming it's not livestock, it's dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And so some places that number is whatever it is. It's some combination. They wouldn't tell you can only have one dog. They'd say you can have 3 or whatever the number is of dogs and cats.
Right.
So
and
3
maybe,
cats or whatever it is.
Maybe some smaller percentage of them can be unaltered.
What does that mean, unaltered?
Well, not fixed.
Oh, you mean able to procreate?
Yeah, maybe you can have 4 dogs, but only 2 of them, or
That's
only one of them can be, in its natural state. Yeah. So we have things in place for that, because if we don't, cities can get really dirty. I mean, the more some people have so many animals that they can't clean up after them, or they make so much noise that it is. A nuisance. So, yeah, we have those things in place.
What is the Colorado city
North Glen.
North Glen. North Glen has said, no, sorry?
North Glen.
Yeah, North Glen. North Glen that's outside of Denver, right?
It's about 40 minutes outside of Denver.
Now, here's the interesting thing. The group of people that live in Colorado, you have a lot of very, very liberal mentality there. And you would think that this would not be the case, but they have capped the number of pets, that is, say, dogs and cats, or cats, at 4.
4. And that this goes into effect on August 1st. So if you have more than that now and you register them all with the city, and that means what kind of animal it is, whether or not it is altered, how old it is. If you have more than that now and they're all registered, you're okay. But moving forward from August 1st, 4 is the most. And it can be a combination. You can have 2 dogs, 2 cats, 1 cat, 3 dogs, whatever you want in that.
That seems unfair.
That
seems unfair for the people that don't have, like, if you just didn't live in the city yet and somebody else, you move into a place and next door they have 9 because they all registered them all. And then you get in there, you only get to get 4.
Well, I mean, I guess, they're drawing a boundary.
Yeah,
they've got issues with noise and issues with pet waste that is not getting cleaned up. And things like that. Sometimes you get grandfathered in. But they have said, and I don't know, it might be like this in other places too. I've never known anybody to get in trouble for something like this.
They're going to take the pets away.
They are. If they find out that you have more than 4, or that your pets are not registered, you could face a court ordered removal of the pet.
It's like Sophie's Choice.
It's not like Sophie's Choice.
It's
not at all like Sophie's Choice.
Well, some people think of their dogs and
I appreciate
cats
you
as
bringing
dogs and cats as
fun cinema into our.
I think most people
discussion.
many people think of the dogs and cats as humans. I was just sort of riding on their own idea that these are. I believe that they're your pets, not your family. I believe you're the owner, not their fur daddy. Or mommy.
I'm gonna look at the audience now. Okay, so I'm not looking at you right now.
Ahead.
I'm looking at the audience.
Go ahead.
He doesn't have a dog.
But I've had plenty of dogs. I love dogs. I love dogs.
I know.
I've had plenty of dogs, but it is never in all my love for my dogs. And we even had cats, and I can't stand cats. but we had cats, but they were like barn cats.
Yeah,
they kept the critters down outside and all that kind of stuff. And then we had one named Pumpkin. And one name was not Pumpkin, it was Punkin.
Pumpkin.
So we had Punkin, and kind of orangish. And then we had one called Midnight. And as you might imagine, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, it was black.
If you don't even remember if the cat was a boy or girl.
I think it was, I don't know. We didn't buy it. I don't know.
You loved the cat.
We didn't buy it.
You loved the cat, but you don't remember if it was a boy or girl.
Well, it lived outside. My dad liked the animals, okay, but the people live in the house, the animals live out the house, and I know that's not a common thing anymore.
Well, but that's okay. I mean, if that's how they have it set up, I don't have a problem with that. If your dogs live outside and they have dog houses, you bring them in as long as it's like really freezing cold. Right. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we had cats, but I never, in all my love, such as it was for my pets,
so sad.
I never was temporarily confused about whether what their station was.
Well, listen, I am not. When I talk to Charlie, I say, "Does Mom need to feed you dinner?"
Yeah,
or so,
right.
But I also I know that he's not human.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he's not really my child. I am clear on that.
All right, I'm not gonna. No.
It's just what he likes to call me.
Yeah, okay.
Your dad was a principal, right?
He was, yeah.
He would be so ashamed of the story I'm about to tell you. He'd be embarrassed. He'd be embarrassed for his profession.
Oh, no.
Florida middle school principal was arrested at Walmart for you're gonna love and hate this story for several reasons.
Go.
He was doing something at a self-checkout.
Uh-oh.
That we've talked about this recently. One of the drawbacks of the self-checkout is it's easier to steal there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So there are things that people know how to do, to make it easier. I read about this. It talked about something called skip scanning. I didn't even know what that was.
What is skip scanning?
Well, in this particular instance, this guy, this middle school principal from Winter Haven, Florida. What he did was he was in the self-checkout and he had his bag and he put some disposable foam plates between the more expensive things that he wanted to steal to hide them. So he had some bacon and he had some frozen butterfly shrimp and some light bulbs. It was like $37 worth of stuff. And he hid them in the bag, scanned the cheaper foam plates, and was headed out of the Walmart.
And?
Well, they caught him.
Of course they caught him.
Stopped him. And he knew he was caught. He knew that he couldn't hide it.
Get away, yeah.
But do you know what his reason was for doing it? Well, all his friends were doing it. I'm serious. This is a guy, a middle school principal. And he said, we were just sitting around and all my friends were talking about all this stuff they were getting away with and how easy it was to do. And he said, it was a really dumb thing. It was a very, very dumb and criminal thing. But the irony of a principal saying,
principals.
All my friends were doing it.
Yeah, so if all your friends jumped off the bridge into the river, would you jump off the bridge into the... What's the guy's name?
This guy probably would.
What's his name?
Gregory.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gregory, if all your friends jumped off the bridge into the river, would you, Gregory, jump into the river? You think he ever had that conversation with anybody ever? Of course, probably his own kids.
How many times has he said that in that school?
Yeah,
I'm sure.
On the upside, his kids now have, the ultimate trump card.
I guess so.
His own kids, Bluebonnets.
Bluebonnets.
All the rain that we've had the last bit is really, really good for bluebonnets. And I've always said that it is usually the weekend before Easter that is the best weekend to go look at bluebonnets. And it turns out that is the case this year. And so this great rain and this wonderful weather in the early part of this week is going to result in just bountiful blueness of our state flower. And in fact, something's opening up this weekend that is really perfect.
Do you think the organizers of the Ennis Bluebonnet Trails Festival know a thing or two about when to plan the festival?
Yeah, a couple.
It's this weekend. It's April 11th through the 13th. And it's it's music and food and fun stuff for kids. It's not expensive. It's like $5 for adults, and kids 12 and under are free. One thing to keep in mind, though, and you can find all of this at bluebonnettrail.org, really everything, the schedule of everything, all the food, all the vendors who are going to be there, maps to drive to see, because that's
like 41 miles.
Yeah, it's like 41 miles, and that they say, prime viewing is the entire month of April, but the festival is this weekend, and it is cashless. So if you wait, and you can't buy tickets ahead of time.
Okay. So
now, I say it's to get in is cashless. Mm-hmm. Once you get in and the food and vendors, I'm not really sure about that. You might be able to find that at bluebonnettrail.org too. Admission is cashless. Yeah. So don't show up after you've waited in line in your car to get in, with a couple of $10 bills and think that'll get you in. You're going to need something other. Well, I guess you just need a card or something like that.
Your app or whatever.
Your app. Mm-hmm.
You said kids 12 and under are free?
They are.
Depending on the kid, sometimes free is too much.
Maybe after the festival, before, early in the day when they're fresh.
I don't want any more kids 12 and under. We invite you to join us on the radio for the music stuff. We do that at a place called The Light. You can get the app by going to wherever you get apps and just search The Light DFW. And then you'll download it and take us wherever you go. Great music. Really, it's free. Everything's free. And we invite you to check it out. Lauren and I are with you weekday mornings from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m.
We are.
And then we hand it off to a lot of dear friends and some old friends. And some are old and dear friends. But we do that, and we invite you to join us. And you could find us online, wildershow.com. Instagram, you just search Wilder Show Pod. And you can find us there. The email is podcast@wildershow.com. We do enjoy reading your emails. So thank you. And we will write you back. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. Anything else, Lauren?
I think that's it.
All right, then we'll see you again. Da 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 dee 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 dee. Hey 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 hey. Yeah. Hey buddy, are you hungry? Yeah, licking your lips. All right, get in there. Hurry up. We got work to do, buddy boy.
He's no respecter of the podcast. No respecter of the open mic.
Hey monkey boy. Hey monkey boy, come here.
I'm busy guarding the house. He just said he had pre-existing commitments.
Okay.
Didn't go to the ceremony.
Yes, yeah. That's pretty sure I could win one of those awards.
You probably still will.
Okay, here we go.
Could you fix my email first?